Karen here, also known as Crafty LittleMissK, and today I'm bringing you some table favours. These ones are for a meal I'll be going to after Onstage. For anybody in the Stampin' Up community, you'll know, or who've ordered from Stampin' Up, you'll know that Onstage is where Stampin' Up demonstrators get to meet up twice a year to see all the new products, new catalogues, just generally have a great time with each other, meeting up with friends you haven't seen for a long time. The team I belong to, most of them live up in the Midlands. I live in the south of England, so it's a very long way to travel to meet up with them. So I always look forward to these conventions. So after the event, a large group of us usually get together to have a meal afterwards, and this is for the table favours I'm making for those other team members. So all it is a little book or a little box that when you open it, it's got a little heart inside, a little chocolate heart. Okay, now these hearts were left over from Valentine's Day, and I checked to make sure the date was fine. They're all good until next year, 2020. They come in little bags, in little net bags like this, and they are really nice chocolate. I mean, I'm the kind of person who only likes Cadbury's or Thornton's or something like that, or Lindt chocolates, but these ones really tasty because I had to try them, didn't I? Anyway, so yes, I'm making these little table favours, and they are very simple to make. There's quite a lot of scoring involved, but once you get the scoring and the cutting done, they're really quite easy to make. So sit back, enjoy, and hopefully you'll want to have a go yourself. So let's move these out of the way. Oh, and I've done most of them. At the moment I've got them in a big tin, a big biscuit tin from Christmas, but they're going to be going into a bag so they're easier to carry. As you see, I've got most of them done now. I just need a couple more. I've got one that's unscored at the moment, and I've got another one off the camera that is scored. I want to show you that in a second. So what you'll need for this project is 2 pieces of card. Well, basically it's one A4 sheet that's been cut down. There are some bits that have been cut off of this. Okay, so the large one is a square which measures 6 7/8 by 6 7/8. I haven't got centimetres already set up, but they will be on my blog, which you'll see a post for down there. I might even put the link, might even actually type them down there as well, just so it's easier. So this is all going to be in inches, I'm afraid. So that's 6 7/8 by 6 7/8. And then the other piece that you cut off, you cut that down to, got to get my notes. So it's 6 7/8 again, so it's the same length. And across the top it's 3 15/16. Now the reason it's an odd number is you want it slightly larger. This is going to be the main box. So if I just bring one of those packs back for a second, this is going to be, oh, people, that's a little bit tight to undo, of course. This bigger piece here will make this framed box here, and then the smaller piece makes the wrap that goes over the top that becomes the lid. Okay, so that's why it's got an odd amount, because it has to be slightly larger to fit over the box. Okay, so what you'll also need apart from that are some I've used these stamps here. So on the little labels, if I just bring that back again, you can see it says "So happy you're here." Okay, I thought that was a really nice sentiment for people who I don't get to see very often. It's so nice to see them all. And that came from this set, which is At Home With You, and it's somewhere on here. There it is, right there. So happy you're here. Okay, this is obviously looks like a Christmas stamp, but you could actually use it for a new home. You could even use it for somebody you love. You've got "I feel at home when I'm with you." Lots of different uses. It doesn't have to be Christmas. I mean, you've got autumn there. It could be Halloween if you want, or Mother's Day, or like I said, new home. Anyway, lots of different uses for it, but I've just used the sentiment from that set. And then the other set I used was this one, Falling Flowers, which is one of my favourites. I love these swirls, and I've actually used that one there and these two here. Okay, so to cut these ones out, so I did these in the same colour in the red, and I've done that in a green. So to cut those out, rather than having to cut them myself, because you know how I don't like fussy cutting, I actually put a little post-it note inside telling me which stamp set it belongs to. And in here I've got this one, and that's the leaf one there. Okay, so I think it's time we got started. So the first thing I did was I made up the covers. I measured, once I've made a box up, I measured up the covers. So I've got these pre-prepared as well. So melted onto a bit of gold foil, and I've actually done some gold embossing as well. And there is another flower to go on it in a second. All right, but we'll do that last of all. So first of all, let's get scoring. So for this, I'm using both my scoring tools. I've got my scoreboard and my trimmer, which has got a scoring bit on it. Just need the tool to do that. So like I said, this one, there's a lot of scoring involved with this one. So you need to score every 1/2 inch up until 2 inches. So you've got 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 1 1/2 and 2. Then you turn it round and you do that on each of the 4 sides. Okay, I love making these boxes. I made them, I think last year I made them like for Father's Day. I made pen holders. Somewhere back in amongst my videos you'll see one that's got a fancy box to put a really like quite a cheap pen. I got them in the pound shop, and it just made them look really, really nice when they were in their boxes. Okay, so once you've done all 4 sides, there's a little bit more scoring. So what you'll need to do now is go to the 2 1/2 mark, but you're only going to score down to this last line here. So that's 1, 2, 3, the 4th line down. You're going to keep this middle bit clear. So you score down to there, and then you want to do the same on this side, but because this is an odd number, it's not up to 7. If you turn it over and then pop it back in, bat it up against, you can go to 2 1/2 and do it again, because it doesn't really matter which side these score lines are on. Okay, and then you want to flip it this way now, so turn it that way and do the same again. So 2 1/2 down to that 4th line, turn it over, flip it that way, down to the 4th score line. So what you'll do, you'll end up with all your score lines around the outside plus 4 lines that only come into that 4th line down. Okay, so that's that bit. And then what I'll do is I will do the other scoring. So let's move that out the way and bring in my trimmer, because there's some odd numbers on this one. Okay, so let's bring in the smaller piece of card. Okay, so luckily with these trimmers, where the trim line is here, you've also got some measurements on the other side. This makes it really easy when you only want 1/2 inch, because you imagine if I was going over to 1/2 inch, it's a little wobbly, it won't stay, it's not stable. So I'm coming up to the 1/2 inch line, which is there, and then I'm going to pop down my thing. Now the lighter one of these two, there's 2 on here, the darker one is a cutting one, this one's the scoring tool. So you just come down, got your score line, turn it around, do 1/2 inch. That's both sides on the short edge, both sides at 1/2 inch. Okay, turn it around to the long edge, 1/2 inch again. Okay, that's a bit wobbly, isn't it? And then this time move it across until you reach the 2 15/16. That's the notch just before the 3 inches. In centimetres, I think that's going to be 7.4. Okay, and then you score, and then you turn it all the way around. So you know your 1/2 inch score line is at this end. And have I done this right? Let me get this for a second. So I've done that. I've done that, turn it round, yes. Then I go to 2 15/16 again. So again, the notch before the 3 or the 7.4, and then you score, and then you come back to 3 7/16. So that's the notch just before the 3 1/2 mark, or in centimetres that would be 8.7, and then you score again. So basically what you've got is 3 in the middle and 1 at the end. Now what you could do, if you're doing this and you don't want to have this score, because this is actually going to be the side of the box. If I just bring this one back, this one I've actually cut down the little corner here, but you can see there's no score line. If you can see that, there's no score line here. Okay, so if you wanted to, make a note that when you do this, you want to have this score line, so it's the one that's the same side as the 1/2 inch one. You want this one here to only go between those two. If I show you my notes real quick, you can see I have circled it with it just here, just between the score lines, and I still managed to get it wrong. Anyway, and my other sample is exactly the same, so I can't even redo it. Anyway, so yes, if you wanted to have that, so it's a nice straight edge, but it doesn't really matter if that little score line's there. Maybe you could sort of like sit here and just very carefully iron it back out, but I'm not going to worry too much. Okay, so that's that. That's all the scoring done. Now the folding will be, there's quite a lot of folding on this. Basically what you want to do, ignore these score lines here and here. These other ones and all these ones, you need to score, you need to fold and press them all down like this. Okay, now I'm not going to do that on camera. This is why I've got a sample pre-read already done, and I've done all the scoring, so it's all a little bit curly looking now. So now I need my scissors, and what you want to do is you want to start off on the part that doesn't have those inner score lines, these short ones. They need to go that way. Okay, so you're working this way for now. and you want to come just inside the bump line to create that nice straight edge straight up to that 4th line there. Okay, and then do the same on this side. Okay, we're not going to cut it out, we're just going to go to there. Turn it around, do exactly the same, so your little score lines are going horizontally, and come up here, and then on the other side the same. Now this is where it gets a little tricky. So now you're going to be doing this side, the one with the short score lines on it, top and bottom. The way I remember to do it is that you're creating an hourglass shape, so you're going to be cutting that way to create, so it's narrower in the middle here. So if you come, so that's your short score line there, so you come to the next score line, you start there and you cut down that way to create a diagonal. Then you cut straight down to the next score line, then out to that score line, and then cut down. And if you've done it right, you'll be cutting off that corner piece, so you're left with that. Okay, so if we do that again, so you start out, come in, straight down, and it doesn't matter where you are on the score lines on this one. Straight out, or sorry, diagonally out again, and then straight down to the bottom. All right, now I have cut that one just a little crooked, so I'm just going to go back and just redo that little cut line there. Okay, so what you'll be wanting to do is end up with this hourglass type figure, all right, or a jar, the top of a milk churn, something that's going to make you remember which way round to do it. The first few times I tried this, I was doing it around the wrong way, and it went horribly wrong. Okay, so now we're going to be doing this side. So again, you start on the second score line in, so it's not the short one, it's the first of the long ones, and you cut to that join line there, straight down, diagonally back, and then straight down into there. And I didn't cut that quite long enough, so I'm just going to come back and just do that real quick. There we go. Well, it's a little messy in there. I'll sort that out later. Okay, I've got that little tiny piece of card. You know it's awkward, isn't it? You get a little tiny piece of card, you can never cut it off. Okay, so again, on the first of the long score lines, not the short one, start there, in, diagonally, straight down, out diagonally, and then straight down again. So that is what you're left with. Okay, it's very odd looking, and you sort of think, how on earth is that going to make that lovely box? But it does, I promise you. Now then, what we're going to do now, the middle of this score line, well, it's actually not the middle, it's actually the second one in. If you fold it like that, this is how I do it, it's nice and easy this way. So it actually meets the middle bit here. And then get your glue. Now this glue, I noticed the other day, was getting very hard to come out. Oh, it's going to come out now because I've kept it upside down overnight. So you're just going to put glue on that odd shape bit there, okay? Fold it back down like I said, tuck it all the way over, and then just rub, and that creates your first side of the box. All right, and I've got ink on, glue rather on there, let's get rid of that. So same again, give it a good rub, bring it back, and there's your two sides done. Okay, so you're halfway there already. So this one, what I tended to do is I folded over the first score line, because this one's a little bit more awkward, a little bit more fiddly. Put glue on that one, okay, keep that folded in if you can, bring it all the way over, and then just start tucking it under those corners there. And then just before you tuck it all the way in, you just want a little bit of glue in these corners here, just so that it stays stuck down. Now as you pull that out, that piece that you glued initially, that long panel, will now be, sorry, excuse me, will now be at the bottom here. So push it all the way in. That glue, those two little glue spots that you did, will now hold that in place. Just hold it there for a second. Give it a little bit of pressure, but not too much because you don't want to crush the side of your box. And that's it done. All right. So same again. Fold over the first panel. Glue. Keep it folded in. Tuck it all the way in, so it's almost like a triangle. And then just let it go a bit as you come to here. Once you get to that last little score line there, little dab of glue in each corner, and then just push it all the way in. All right, I've got a little tiny bit of glue there. All the way in, hold it, and then press down gently, just to let glue take time to actually stick. And I've got a little bit of glue just showing this. I'm just going to take that away. Okay, and that's your base done. Easy peasy. Bring it off to the side. Let's pop the lid back on that for a second so it doesn't dry out. Now this one, what we're going to do before we do any fold lines. We're going to cut. If you take it so you've got the piece that doesn't have the score line across the bottom, flip it over so you can see the bumpy sides, and we're going to be cutting up this line here up to the middle score line, not the first one but the middle one. And I'm going to actually use my bigger scissors for this, just so I get a nice straight edge, but you use whatever you're comfortable with. So what you want to do is, this has to be nice and straight, so you're going to be cutting away the bump. So just come inside the bump, cut all the way up to the second score line, and then stop. Same on this side. That's it. That's not quite all the way there, but these are big blades. I don't want to cut too far. Okay, so back to my little one. So now you're going to be cutting these pieces off here. So just come round and cut that off. And I can just trim that now. Now I've got the little scissors, a bit more precision. And the same here. Not quite. Okay. So you're left with that shape. Okay. The next thing I want to do is to now fold and burnish that middle line, come back and do that score line there as well. So what you've done is you've just scored from the non half inch scored, the score half inch score is there, so this side, come in, you score that line and that line, but you do not score this one. Okay, that one is actually just going to be decoration, which is why I said you might not want to put the score line all the way to the end. You might just want to put it between those two score lines there. So now I'm going to do these ones, which are the three sides that actually close the little box off. All right, and then to cut, you want to make sure that, let's see which way, I do it this way round. Yeah, that's it. So on the side, cut straight up just to the inside of that bumpy line. So I'm going to be cutting the bumpy line away, and then actually just miter that bumpy line out. And the same on the edge, just miter that edge. Okay, turn around, do this side. Straight up, miter out, and miter out. Okay, so let's take those little bits away, lay this down, and then you can see what I've got now. Okay, let's dump those. So what I'm going to do now is I want to stick this onto the back, and then we'll bring it over, and then we'll make up the rest of the box in a second. So lots of glue on this bit, but don't take it too near the edge because we don't want it oozing out, she says, as she goes over the edge. So I'll just get rid of that in a second. Okay, it's a nice lot of glue there. And I'm just going to take that off my bottom bit, and I'm just going to use my thumb just to take that away from the edge a little bit. Okay, have a look at your box. If you've got one that you're not, an edge or a corner that you're not quite happy with, mine isn't too bad. I might just put that edge in because that hole seems to be bigger than these gaps here. So up against it, or just the other side of the score line there, push it on. You'll find that you might need to just give it a little wiggle to get it perfectly in place. Turn it over and then just rub down around the edges where that frame part is, and then get your finger or thumb or whatever in there. I don't want to use this because I don't want to create scratch marks in there, because that's where my heart chocolate is going to go. Okay, now then we're going to finish off making this box now. So we want to fold it in like that. Now a lot of people say make your box around the box lid rather, around your box to make sure it fits perfectly, but I think that's going to be okay. So a little tiny dab of glue. Oh, come on. That's it, there and there. And then just pop it in, and then just hold that in place for a second until the glue sets, and you've got the nice, oops, join. Oops, should be under camera, sorry. Nice join there and there. And I'm squeezing quite hard. I don't know if you can see my hands are shaking a little. Okay, that's just going to hold that. And then just before it dries completely, just make sure it fits, which it does. Okay, now then, some of these boxes I found fitted beautifully. Other times there was a tiniest of little lips there. So if you're not happy with that tiny little lip, just grab yourself some scissors, and it'll be just a minute tiny bit that you're going to be taking away from. I'm not even going to bother with that bit. This bit is slightly off, so I'm just going to just snip very gently just to neaten that up. And literally all I'm taking off is a shave. I'll put it down there, you can see it's just a tiny little shave. And that's all I'm going to take away actually, because the rest of it looks fine. And that's your box done. Now this bit here, you've got a choice then. You can either leave it open like that, or if you want to, you can glue it so it opens like that. Or what you could do if you wanted to, which I did on one of my samples and then didn't like it, was I cut up to the second score line, actually cut that square away as well, and then I glued that bit down so that it opened even smaller. I'm not going to do it because I don't want to do it, but if you imagine it's sort of like that score line then becomes a fold line to fold back, but I preferred it this way. A lot of mine have been done like that, so they stay closed like that, so I think I will continue because I want them all to look the same. A couple of them I did get slightly wrong with my measurements, and I ended up by cutting off the sides of the top of the box and created just like a flap. I don't know if I've got one near the top that I can show you. I think that one is, oh yeah, while that's sitting gluing, that glue's waiting to dry. This one, I measured the box too big, or I did this too small. As you can see, I've got a score line down, quite a nasty score line down there, but I just used a little bit of Velcro just to hold that one closed, and I actually glued it down then, look, as you can see. So, but I wasn't too happy with that one, so I may or may not take that one with me. Right, so while that's sitting there, you can now work on the top. So what I did, as I said, is I did my measurements, and I will have all the measurements down in here. I didn't write them down, so let's quickly go through it. So the gold is 2 3/4 by 2 1/4, so 2 3/4 by 2 3/4, sorry, the long side, 2 1/4 this side, and then the cream, the very vanilla, is actually 1/4 inch smaller, so it'll be 2 by 2 1/2, yeah, so it's 2 by 2 1/2. All right, so that's what that layer. If you like your layers to be a bit thinner, just make your cream just a little bit bigger. And then I just I stamped and punched out a load of, or die cut a load of the these little bauble levy type things, loads of flowers, and also these ones. And these have all been, like I said at the beginning, gold embossed as well. I wanted to save time by not doing it. And then I've just glued these directly onto the card. And this one I've got some little tiny dimensionals on there, because what I want to do, I didn't have a lot of the gems on in my supplies, so I wanted to, if I bring that over, I've used these ones, which are the gold faceted gems, and I've used the very small ones. I didn't have enough to do 2 on each box, so what I've done is I've done it in such a way that the top flower covers the center of the bottom flower, and you can put them in any position you want to, and then you only have to use 1 gem per box, and that one goes on there like that. Okay, but I didn't want to do that just yet because I wanted it nice and flat to stick on the box. All right, I'll fiddle with that one later and fit it on the other last of the boxes I'm making. So more glue. I always prefer to use the wet glue. You could use tearing tape or snail, but I prefer the wet glue because if you haven't got it exactly how you want it on the top, you can just give it a quick little nudge before it dries completely. And then just place it on your box. As you can see, move it around until you're happy with where it is. Hold down. And then that's that bit done. And then, like I said, the 3 little dimensionals on the back of the flower, just take those off, turn it over, find the way around you want it, and then just stick it down. Like I said, I've just covered that flower, but if you've got loads of gems and you want to use them, then please do actually move it so you can actually put a gem on the other one as well. And then just a little gem on the top. So there you are. Like I said, it wasn't a hard box to do. Once you've got past all of the scoring, so there's loads of them here. Like I said, I've done quite a few, and I hope you enjoyed that project. And if you'd like to have a go, please do. To add on, I forgot to do this part before I finish my last video. Before you glue this bit down here, you'll be wanting to get your little tiny hole punch and just punch out a little thumb hole, just to make it easier for you to get your thumb in to open up the box. All right, so make sure you do that first, and then once you've made it all up, then make sure you also remember to put the chocolate in, which I also forgot. It's only when I went back to check the box that I thought, oh, there's no chocolate in that one. Let's get this box made up. So you're just going to make nice corners there, just hold it down for a second for that glue to dry. That's the only downside of wet glue, it does take a few seconds to dry. There we are. So before I go any further, I'm going to be using glue dots to hold these hearts in. They are only half a heart, so that's okay. It will lie flat. And what I'm going to do, just to make sure it does stick, because I don't want it falling out in transit, and then somebody saying, oh, I didn't get a chocolate in mine. I'm just going to put 3 little glue dots on there, but you can put just 2 if you want to. And I'll stuck that to my thumbnail. That's it. And then just pop that down in there. Give it a little press. These are solid hearts, so I can press without worrying about them collapsing, like that. And now I can put the top bit on. So that's it. I'm just going to put my whole hand over there because I've got that 3D element there. I don't want to have it half hanging off. And there we are. So like I said, lots and lots of lovely little chocolate goodies for my crafting friends up in the Midlands. Let's move those around that way, like that. And yeah, great. So if you enjoyed what I did today and you haven't already done so, please do subscribe. The subscribe button should be down there somewhere. And that way you'll see all the projects I make. I love to see that I've got new subscribers. It makes me feel like I'm doing some things that people enjoy watching. If you would like any of the products, if you go via my blog, you'll find that there's a hostess code always there as well, whichever the current month might be, whether you're watching this in April, May, December, whenever. And if you use the hostess code, if you're ordering from a Stampin' Up! and you want me as your demonstrator, which I would love, thank you. If you use the hostess code, I will always send you a thank you card, and if you order more than £30, I will send you a little gift. Order more than £50, I'll send you a little something from Stampin' Up! So yeah. I hope you enjoyed the video, like I said, and although it's a murky day here, it's always a happy day when I'm crafting. Bye for now.